Hi, and welcome to another Synchromotion Devlog. In this episode, I kind of want to talk about the next steps, what I've learned from the previous project, and what I want to take going forward. So one of the big things in there was this idea of collaboration and how much that brought to the project. So up until the shoot, it was just me working on it. I had some ideas, I worked on it in Unreal Engine, I did some asymmetry work and the music, kind of everything together with the idea of going to shoot and doing it all there live. And then going to shoot and working with Andy and Dimmy and Alex, there was a lot that changed on the day. There were a lot of ideas that came through just from the pure like practicality of doing things. And it was great to work with them. I worked with them for a long time, but it was great to kind of think about what we could do together more in the future. So for the next iteration, I want to involve them more. We had a bit of a recap the other day, actually. We just had a video call to talk about what we thought about the day, what we might want to do in the future. I'll show you a little bit of that now.
Maybe the graphics didn't shine in some of the angles we had, just because there physically wasn't much stuff there. So I think it was good, but room for improvement is how I would probably say it.
I kind of felt that you could have done more, shot more of what you had. So like the elements were like people are coming up, they were kind of in the background, and you used shots that didn't really see them. Like you could tell they were there, but we could have focused in more on those kind of things popping up.
But I think for me, one of the early challenges is like how to leverage the technology best to get the most wow factor out of it, and for people to understand that it's more than just someone DJing with some animation behind.
It felt quite free and creative and intuitive on the day to just be able to do the performance 6 or 7 times and let's shoot it like this, let's shoot it like that.
Well, that's it. I want to keep you guys involved at this stage. I know that some of it's stuff only I can do, like only I can sort of do the Unreal bit, but like it's not just me, like ideas wise, like it's you guys are in, you like now, like you're involved.
So that was the recap, kind of like a download of all the ideas and things that we thought about on the day. We plan to do more of those, I want to involve them more in the project going forward and throughout. So we'll have another session with ideas. I'll show them what we've got so far. And then we'll work together and integrate things like the production elements, direction that Alex was very good at on the day. That's his job, basically. And Andy working on the virtual production desk. There was loads of stuff he was doing behind the scenes, and there's loads more that those guys can bring. So what I'll do now is I'll show you what I'm planning to do for the next version. And just as a little bit of a taster, what I want to do here is I want to kind of iteratively add elements to this as a project. So the first version was just me playing some stuff on the Ableton Push. And that was kind of like a safe bet. Like I knew that I could play some music. I had lots of stuff queued up, and it was all kind of digital or audio data that I could pull directly from Ableton. And what I want to do in the future is involve more people and maybe eventually bands as well. Like we've got ideas for involving or just having entirely different music from different people. But the first step in that is getting some live elements. And the first element is drums. Now, for this, I've got my friend Grant. He's going to help me with this. We're going to kind of jam together. We're going to come up with an idea for some music. And what I'm going to do is trigger information from his drums. So I was initially thinking I have to do this myself. Like I would have to come up with some way of getting little contact microphones and triggering those through Max MSP or something, which would have been fine. But it turns out you can just buy them. You can just buy drum trigger kits and they send MIDI data, which is going to be great actually, because they'll plug straight into Ableton. And not only will I get the acoustic sound of the drums, which will be a really nice element to have live there in the thing that we're doing, but I'll also be able to use that data to augment the sound and have other sounds trigger. Not to mention the graphics. So each of the drum heads, I don't know if it works for cymbals. I have to figure out another way of doing that, or whether I even need to. But each time a drum head is hit, you'll get a trigger, and then that trigger can trigger some effects like we're already doing. So what I'll do now is I'll show you what I've set up in Unreal Engine and some ideas that I've got for this next version. Right, okay, here is the next version or kind of working area of what I'm doing. So we're back in Unreal Engine. I've set up another level, very similar to the one before. It's kind of like a light version, I guess, with this kind of like blue tint. And for now, I've gone with this sort of weird kind of like cube theme, I guess. Obviously, you've got me here. That's a representation of me with a synthesizer or the Ableton Push, I guess. And then Grant will be here on the drums. That's not Grant. that's just a 3D model. But yeah, this will be the setup. So if I hit play, we can see a couple of things happening. So yeah, we've got this, like, this doesn't do anything yet, this like cube of cubes, but that'll sort of pulse, and there'll be like graphics around it and stuff, and like sort of overlays. I've got this idea of this kind of like dead mouse style, just lots of things happening on that cube, and it's sort of pushing out and doing various things. But we've got the swarm, similar to the one before. I've kind of adjusted this quite a bit. So when a note triggers, it'll kind of like pulse. And I didn't use any color in the last one, really. There were like a couple of tinges of like red here and there. But for this one, I'm going to definitely use color a lot more, and like very primary colors. So probably kind of, well, yeah, RGB, maybe some yellow in there as well. To kind of just give you a splash, like every now and then. It will be like relatively unexpected. So there's that one. Actually, let me turn on. All right, here we go. Got rid of those. So cloning cube controller. Yeah, I saw like this. I'll have to find the video the guy did. He does all these like tutorials and does these interesting things, but I basically copied that or did another version of it that will be in time in the music. So we basically like spawn a cube, and then every time there's a trigger, it's like a sort of probability thing. So it's like it turns into 2 cubes, and then one of those will turn into a few more, and then one of those will turn into another one, and so on and so forth, with again this like sort of blue sort of fading effect. And it's quite a fun one to trigger every now and then, because you don't know what's going to happen. Like, it's all like physics based, obviously, like things are moving around. And what I'll do is I'll probably constrain it to an area. Currently, the trigger will only happen in an area anyway. It won't happen like everywhere in the scene, because otherwise that would get kind of mad. But yeah, you can just keep triggering it, and then it makes these sort of quite mad effects every now and then. It's like spawning a couple more cubes, and it's also making them sort of blast out, giving them a bit of like a force as well, which is kind of fun. So yeah, that's about it so far. A few ideas down, and it would be great to chat to the guys and get some more ideas, because I think showing them this, and then they'll be like, oh, what if this did that, or what if that did that? We talked a lot about this idea of theming. This is still quite abstract, and we'll probably keep it relatively abstract, but involving some kind of narrative, perhaps some like motion capture in there as well. In the future, I'd really like to do that live. I'd like to work with some dancers, or a dancer, or like someone to inject some of that movement and focus on that instead of just like a sort of musical performance. So we shall see. We'll leave it there, and I'll keep you updated.